All right, so what ended up happening is we put the fuel in it. It was good for the one night with the valve turned off, but when we turned the valve back on, it started to leak out of the where we had those two O-rings over here on this side. So what we're going to do now is take this thing back out and see what we can figure out. Okay, so what is happening here is, and I probably can't get them out without taking these ball bearings back out of here, but what's happening is fuel is leaking out around this thing. So I believe I know why that is happening. And I didn't really think about it until we swapped everything, but so I mentioned that the graphite washer that was in there that goes on the inside of this plate had some grooves on it over on this side. And what I think happened is I think the fuel is actually leaking, because now I put the one with the grooves in it on the other side, and I think the fuel's leaking past that and allowing a lot more fuel to get into this cavity than would normally be there. So we are going to take all this out again and see if we can figure out what's going on here. Alright, so we have our washer that's in here that we had before, and then I'm going to get these springs out of here so we don't lose them. And as you can see, this is full of fuel in here. So what we ended up doing when we put all this back together is we took the graphite washer off the other side, this piece here. We took it off the other side and we moved it over here, thinking maybe some of the fuel was leaking past it on this side. Well, if you look at this is the hole. This is where the actual hole is to let fuel go into this piece, and it's sealed up around the side of the body. And then these guys block off the hole. So like right now we're in the off position, so the hole is actually clogged up, and these guys are blocking the fuel from getting into this cavity. Well, when I turn this around to line up with one of these holes, it allows fuel to run down inside of this, but it doesn't, there's no way for it to go to anywhere except out the other end, which is over here. So it would line up the hole and then the fuel would flow out over here. The problem that I have now though is because I put that washer, the bad washer, over here, when the fuel is running out over here, it's allowing it to drain into this entire cavity, and then it's running out through this shaft, through the spot where it should be halfway sealed up. Now under normal conditions, if that thing was sealed on the other end, you wouldn't really have it doing that because it wouldn't have anywhere to go. It would just go out that hole. But because we've kind of messed up the seal on that end, we've allowed more fuel to get inside here than would normally be there. So we're going to pull all this apart and move these washers back to where they originally were. And so that back here is that washer. So we're going to get it out of there, and if I can get it to come off the body. Okay, so we have put a different kind of O-ring. In the process of doing all this, I got some different O-rings when I ordered the bigger one. So we've replaced these with some different ones, which are a little bit tighter they're a little bit fatter than the other ones, which fits better. The other thing is, this is our ring that has our washer that has all the rings in it. This thing has a little bit of a chamfer on the inside here, and this thing originally came like this with those grooves that were actually facing this. But the more that we looked at this, that means that this good washer that was on the inside should go in here with that chamfer out. So we're going to put it back in like it was. This one, I'm on the fence of whether I want to flip this one over just so I've got a clean face over here. The only downside is that chamfer, but this is a square cut on this, so I don't think the chamfer is really doing a lot. But what that's going to do is give me a good seal here to keep fuel from running out down back here to the back. So what we're going to do is put this thing back together. So we got to put these guys back in here. And then we're going to slide this piece. I think what I'm going to do here is put this washer in first, because I want to make sure it doesn't get in any kind of a bind going in there. Alright, so we got the washer in there. And we're going to put these guys back in here. And I have the chamfer on this is actually on the outside. And we're going to put this guy back in here. Guy back in here like so. We're going to take this washer and turn it over so that the rough side is on the outside, and the only thing is that piece is fitting up against this outside here, so I'm going to have either a rough piece sealing it up up against that other piece, or I'm going to have a rough piece over here. Kind of on the fence whether I should put this thing back together the way it was, or so I may just put it back in the way that it was originally, because I don't really see whether it's going to make that much difference. So we're going to put this guy in here, and now we're going to take this guy and line it up with our marks that hopefully are still on here. There's our big one. There's our other one. So that goes like that. Alright, and then we got to get that O-ring pressed in there. So Now the O-ring is in. We got those guys back in there, so now let's see. Gotta pull those guys out to put the springs back in, but we'll do that last. So right now we just need to screw these guys back in. Alright, and I'll tighten it up in a second. And so now we got to get this back together, but I'm going to check something here real quick before I do that. Alright, we got it back in, got everything mounted up, and now we're going to fill it up with fuel and try it again. Alright, so we've got the tank filled back up to where it's set at the bottom of the neck there. We got the fuel tank, we didn't put it on the fuel selector, we put it on left front this time so that we can actually check and see if it's going to leak. So we already know it doesn't leak in the off position, so this time we're going to just leave it in the left front position and see what happens overnight. So far the valve isn't leaking, so the moving those washers back around to where they were had solved that problem, and you know, it makes sense why that was doing what it was doing. So now we'll just see what happens after we come back in here in the morning. Alrighty, so it's been sitting all night on that front left tank. I'll check the fuel level and looks perfect. So that looks like that has solved that problem. So today we will get the cover back on the bottom of the airplane and put this project to bed. It looks like that has fixed most of all of the problem at the moment. We'll just keep an eye on it and make sure that it doesn't develop another leak. But right now we'll call putting the O-rings and cleaning everything up seems to have fixed the problem.